national wash policy to be overhauled. Pangu Party leader Basil sworn in as minister. And 36-year-old widow to sit for grade 12 exams.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. This is Friday's news. National Planning Minister Richard Maru has announced a major overhaul of the national government's wash policy. In a media conference this morning, Minister Maru said a submission will be made to NEC to establish the country's first national water, sanitation and hygiene authority, which in the long run will see proper water and sanitation services delivered to every province in the country.
Minister Maru announced today that under the government's water and sanitation hygiene or WASH policy, there will be major developments in improving water and sanitation services throughout the country.
The policy now sets in motion, once implemented, what the government will now do to reform the water sector, water and sanitation sector, and start providing funds through the government itself or donors to try and bring safe water and sanitation services throughout all our provincial towns, cities, district towns, and of course all our villages throughout our country.
Mr. Maru says the country has come a long way and it's about time it has a proper body in place to oversee water and sanitation needs.
One could argue, why has it taken us 42 years and yet over half of our people don't have access to safe water and sanitation? My review of documents before me, it's very clear. We do not, over the last 42 years, the government has no one single body responsible for the sector. Meaning there was no entity that had the responsibility and the accountability to make sure every town, every city, every village had access to safe water and sanitation.
Under the new reform, Maru announced there are plans to merge water utility company at Ranu and water PNG.
We don't need two water utilities in this country. There's no need to have water Ranu and water PNG and Ranu. We only need to have one institution, one water utility. Why do I say that? The country can save up to 10 million plus by having only one water utility. It's a complete waste of funds. The money we spend on two boards and two management, all the overheads, can go straight to dividends to KCH. So under our proposal to government, we want to see these two institutions being merged as one.
The setting up of the National Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Authority will be in place once the minister makes a submission to NEC.
So the establishment of this institution will not cost the government any money, except that we will need a new legislation that needs to be enacted to set up this new water apex organization. It will also be the technical regulator for water and sanitation in Papua New Guinea.
The WASH policy is a 15-year plan the national government introduced in 2015, aimed at improving the lives of people both in the rural and urban areas. And the reform of the policy is a sign the government is taking serious steps in improving water and sanitation services in the country. Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
Weeks after crossing the floor to the government, leader of Pangu Party Basil is now a state minister. The Bulolo MP was sworn in this afternoon at the government house in Port Moresby. Two other Pangu Party MPs were also sworn in as vice ministers for fisheries and education.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and other state ministers were at the government house this afternoon for the occasion. Instruments for the three members from Pangu Party were signed and sworn in by Governor General Sir Bob Dadai. The former opposition frontman was sworn in as a state minister. His portfolio will be made known on Monday, according to government officials. However, the member for Sumkar and Lufa were bestowed vice ministers for fisheries and education. Speaking after the occasion, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says despite joining the government ranks recently, Basil and the Pangu team will be part of decision makers in the cabinet.
They've joined us late, but it's certainly not too late to fully participate in the management of the affairs of the country. I think it strengthens our government, and I think our The coalition will continue to maintain good policies that will continue to serve the interests of our country.
According to the Prime Minister, more changes are expected in the coming week. He also dispelled rumors of splits between coalition partners.
There will be some small slight changes in terms of some of the ministries who are either fitting in well or are not fitting in well. We'll move them around so that we can get the best outcomes for the organizations that they are responsible for. So on Monday I will be making those announcements.
The Bulolo MP says the move bonds Pangu and PNC, including other coalition partners in the O'Neill Able-led government.
Above all, we want to all hands and work together with the People National Congress, the government, and also the coalition partners. So I have nothing much to say, but once again, thank you to the Prime Minister.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
Mulbaya district in Western Highlands is planning to build large-scale agriculture projects in the next 5 years. Local MP Koi Trape said talks with relevant stakeholders have commenced. Mr. Trape said this while presenting the district's acquittal reports at the Rural Development Department.
While presenting the 2016 financial reports for the district, the second-time MP says agriculture is the way forward for the district. Apart from coffee and other agriculture produce, Mr. Trapper said rice planting will be introduced to the district.
We are talking with farm set and New table beds. We've got a massive land there. So we want to partnership with some of these major developments. We want to get law and order settled down. We want to get the road fixed. And then, you can look at the education we're building there. And then you are talking about health centers.
MP Trape believes the large landmass the district has can be utilized in agriculture projects. He says roads, bridges and other sectors like education and health have been given equal consideration in the last term.
Now we are looking at Lumusa, the station is some policemen in there, and Moon side.
The 2016 acquittal reports presented yesterday are for 8 different sectors. Prior to receiving the reports, DIR Acting Secretary I. Vaki says districts have different plans due to geography, landmass and population, but says prioritizing services is important.
How much you have expended, and we look at how much has been disbursed, and we can simply see the data according to concerns, and we'll see where your priority areas are. Your books will tell us.
Meanwhile, Secretary Vaki is urging other districts to fast-track their acquittal reports before the end of 2017. He says with the current economic struggle, 2018 funding will not be released until outstanding reports are presented to his department and are verified. Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Nurses Association has called on leaders in Southern Highlands to work together and address the political unrest in the province. The unrest in Mendi town has affected the basic delivery of health services, forcing institutions like hospitals to scale down. And the safety of nurses remains a concern, with the possibility of them withdrawing their services.
Election-related unrest in Southern Highlands province has affected government services like health. This has prompted the Papua New Guinea Nurses Association to come out clear on this stand following the evacuation of doctors from the province by the Papua New Guinea Doctors Association.
We have advised from our briefings with our branch executives on the ground. In fact, the branch president is right here at this NSC meeting. A decision will be made and delivered, but for now, given the current situations, we have advised them to stay at home until total normalcy is restored.
The situation in Mandi has denied people access to most government services like health. The PNG Nurses Association president says health is a key social service delivery system and shouldn't be affected.
I'd like to also take this time to appeal to all the members elect for Southern Highlands to come together and address this issue. It is important. Health service is one key social service delivery system, and it should not be affected because innocent lives will be affected when health service delivery is not functioning normally.
Nurses' lives cannot be put to risk if the situation cannot be fixed, and a decision will be made and delivered to the nurses of Mendi based on the President's report.
The safety of all the nurses in Mendi, we are very, very concerned, and we will, based on the branch President's report, a decision will be made and delivered back to our members or the administration in Mendi.
Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
Losing Moresby Northeast candidate Labia Mayu has filed an election petition against sitting member John Kaupa at the National Court in Port Moresby. The application was mentioned for directions hearing before Justice Colin McCall at the Courts of Disputed Returns this morning. Grounds on which the application was submitted includes illegal acts during the counting process in the 2017 national general elections. A pre-trial date was set for 20th November 2017 and at least 10 witnesses will be called to the stand to testify. This is one of the 10 election petitions mentioned today. The Court of Disputed Returns has given former Kandep MP Don Pollier and sitting MP Alfred Manasseh 4 weeks to prepare for a trial. This follows an election petition filed by losing candidate Don Pollier against elected MP Alfred Manasseh. This matter was filed on September 19th and will return to court on December 15 as ordered by Justice Colin McCall.
Grounds on which this application was filed include mainly discrepancies during counting of the Kandep open seat during the 2017 national general elections. This morning, Pollier's lawyer told the court they would need 3 more weeks to prepare necessary documents for the trial conference in December. However, Manasseh's lawyer objected to the 3-week time frame, saying the allegations were widespread and they needed more time to prepare. Justice Colin McCall then adjourned the case to December 15, giving both lawyers 4 weeks to prepare for the trial.
Lawyers will come show him support now to pan him out. One become court. Okay, today people are making pre-trial. So pre-trial directions hearing him today. Now court give him directions along both sides. Along filing all evidence by the 15th of December.
Outside the courtroom, Pollier's supporters waited for the result of the directions hearing. Pollier explained to his supporters that the court has adjourned to give lawyers sufficient time to prepare for trial.
The witness, you may file him. Now first respondent, Alfred Manasseh, one of them second respondent, Pati Gamato, Electoral Commission, all will file him too. Now all the parties will come together along this time of 15th of December, long free trial conference. And then we will determine him trial along him.
The matter returns to court on December 15th at 9:30 in the morning. Takla Gunga, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, a widow amongst other grade 12s in the country to sit for their national exams. An inspiring story you don't want to miss. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Over 300,000 grade 10 students in Papua New Guinea have completed the national examination this morning. Today they set their last exam, the English paper. The grade 10 national exams began on Monday and ended today.
In Port Moresby, students from at least 10 secondary schools set the exams. Today, EMTV News visited the Badihagwa Technical Secondary, where students were into the second hour of the English paper. Their exams were supervised by 4 external invigilators from the nearby Kilakila Secondary and the Don Bosco Technical Secondary. Badihagwa was established in 1960 as a high school and later became a secondary school. It has registered over 1,000 students for the 2017 academic year. 574 of them are grade 10 students. Though it is located close to Hanwabada village, its students come from as far as Bomana, Gereru and Kaugere. The school's exam coordinator, Stephen Rugby, says since the first exam day, all students were on time and the exams were conducted smoothly. For next week, grade 12s around the country will also sit their final examinations. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The Higher Education Department requires about 90 million kina to increase scholarships of school leavers. Executive Manager of the Tertiary Admission and Scholarships Division, Thimon Bune, said as much as possible the department would like to see an increase in the intake of students to higher learning institutions, but there are not enough resources.
The increasing number of grade 12s every year challenges the Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology to increase its scholarship funding. The ongoing issue has been a major concern for the department. Executive Manager at the Tertiary and Scholarships Division, Timon Bunes, said the department is doing all it can, but funding continues to be a problem.
In the past, the students being selected, sometimes NEPO students one talks do the selection. And they write it in, and subject to altering, and has been a lot of a lot of altering has been done. Let's admit that there was in the past a lot of dubious means of enrolling students to higher institutions.
He said higher learning institutions also have a capacity issue, and that puts a strain on having more students in schools. Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
A 36-year-old widow from the Mulbaya area of Western Highlands province will be amongst grade 12 students nationwide who will be sitting for their national examinations next Monday. Joyce Kaimdi is currently doing her grade 12, taking biology and maths A at Kombolopa High School. She was sponsored by a Single Moms Association to complete her education.
The Mubalu Women of Hope Federation Association helps women without husbands so that they can sustain their living. Joyce is among other single mothers and widows who were sponsored to continue their education.
We no plan now, all married now. Only got they became single mothers. All these women, we decided to form an organization, and we call it Women of Hope because we feel that this is not the end of everything, but there is hope.
Joyce Kaimdi's husband passed on in 2002 when the 3 children were aged 5 and 1, and the third boy was only several months old. Joyce was hopeless as she was only 16 years old when she got married. She raised the children on her own until in year 2012 she heard about the free education policy that was introduced by the then O'Neill Dion government. She applied to continue her education, and now she will be sitting for her grade 12 exams.
Me come to school because no man law by helping family below me or supporting family below me. Or send me at meeting or triple beginning below me, and me must go past and bien or beginning must come meeting or send me come school. Me okay grade 9, 7, 8. We pass him example me, okay, all select me come Lokombolova secondary school. Me okay grade 9, 10. Me pass bien me okay grade 11, now 12 and final year below me okay exam.
Joyce has already applied to take up nursing at the Mendi or Medeng nursing colleges. She encouraged other mothers like her to follow her footsteps. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Over 28,000 grade 12s this year will be the first batch of students to be selected through an online system. Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology Minister Pila Niningi launched the National Online Selection System today. The new system will enable higher learning institutions to make selections more transparent compared to the old system where selections were done manually.
34 higher learning institutions in the country will now be using an online system to make selections for grade 12s this year. PCG Academia, a Polish subsidiary of the American Public Consulting Group, has been engaged to introduce the system in the country.
We checked the data and we see a major possible improvement in the process, which is now based on paper, and it leads to missing some very good candidates who are not admitted to any institutions. We are proposing, and today's seminar is the opportunity for us to present to the higher education community the way that the online system should be used that will ensure big transparency and more efficient way of selecting best students for the best program.
The higher learning institutions and stakeholders today participated in a seminar to introduce the institutions to the online selection system and also on how to use the system. This new system will save the Department of Higher Education 5 million kina, as well as minimizing corrupt practices of the past.
In the past, the students being selected, sometimes NEPO students one talks do the selection, and they write it in, and subject to altering, and has been a lot of a lot of altering has been done. Let's admit that there was in the past a lot of dubious means of enrolling students to higher institutions.
He said the system will also make sure maximum opportunities are given to grade 12 school leavers who are eligible to continue their studies. Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
The People's Microbank Limited has formed a partnership with the largest bank in PNG, Bank South Pacific, in what CEO Anthony De La Cruz has deemed a move that will provide ease of access to PMBL customers.
Customers of People's Microbank Limited can now access their funds by using a People card at any Bank South Pacific ATM, thanks to a newly formed partnership between the microbank and banking giant BSP. According to People's Microbank management, the move is a complementary approach that will see both banks working together to service the needs of the microbank customers.
We did the complementation approach instead of competition approach, so which means we want to benefit with the capabilities that are already in place with the big banks. Instead of us investing on very costly infrastructure, when these facilities, payment facilities are already available, so we signed up with BSP, and we are very thankful that BSP is welcome the approach of People's Microbank to be a partner to bring financial services more accessible to thousands of millions of Papua New Guineans around the country.
The expansion of interchange between banks has now encompassed the smaller banks and other financial institutions. Leanne Jarari, National EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3125 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.305, $0.3857 Australian dollars, $0.2538 euro, and 33.88 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and copra closed higher, while coffee and cocoa closed the day lower. Palm oil, crude oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 31.88 points lower, the ASX closed at 19.73 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 20.6 points higher. You're at Friday's news. Life continues 6 years after the plane crash in Madang. Stay with us for details. Welcome back to the news. A lay company is calling on consumers to buy products made in the country. Panamex today allowed members of the lay media to see how their products were being produced. The company employs over 500 people throughout PNG.
This is where the waswa soap is made. 10 bags of processed product made from palm oil are poured into this machine. It is then mixed with this yellow dye and lemon fragrance before it passes through this machine as a finished product. They are then packed into cartons ready for distribution.
When we buy, the money stays back in the country. Gradually, it improves our economy.
The powder used in making the product is imported from overseas. The raw material used for processing the waswas soap is palm oil, grown here in PNG and then exported overseas for processing. The processed product is then packed into bags and imported back to PNG.
All raw materials, we can down process them here so that we give more employment to the Papua New Guineans.
Panamex is one of several lame manufacturers. The management says they are also focusing on producing qualified human resources to perform well when producing PNG products.
But if you don't have the right people with the right skills to go out there and ensure that it is presenting itself in the way it's supposed to be, then obviously it can affect the way the market is going.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
Hand washing should become a habit. This is the take-home message commemorating Global Hand Washing Day. Parents and guardians are being urged to teach their children the importance of hand washing.
Students of Teddiro Primary School were part of Global Hand Washing Day. Supported by Colgate Palmolive, students were shown the correct way to washing hands and why having clean hands all the time is important. Using soap to wash hands is not only affordable but an effective way of reducing risk of illness. This year, nearly 13,000 Protex antibacterial soaps were distributed to 382 schools and organizations, with 257 participants registered for the Global Hand Washing Day. The number of attendees for this year's Global Hand Washing Day has doubled compared to last year, indicating that the message and awareness of this good but simple hygiene exercise is very much on the rise. Colgate Palmolive General Manager John Wood says the important message is wash your hands. Colgate's education program, Clean Hands, Good Health, is aimed at reaching 400,000 children in promoting proper hygiene and awareness to teachers and parents.
Colgate, through its brand Protex, has supported Global Hand Washing Day for a number of years. This year is by far the most successful. We have over 260,000 children and adults around the country today all washing their hands at the same time at 10 a.m. this morning to celebrate and I guess raise awareness of how important it is to wash your hands. The simple simple habit of washing your hands can reduce the incidence of diarrhea by around 50% for kids under the age of 5 and also reduce the incidence of other diseases such as respiratory diseases by around 25%.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
Members of the Maritime Workers Union and landowner groups in Ley have protested over the government's decision to engage a Filipino-owned company in operating ports in the country. The workers held a peaceful demonstration today, calling on the government to reconsider the decision.
Maritime workers and landowners of the Ley port protested against the government's plan to engage the International Container Terminal Services Company in operating ports in the country. They staged a 30-minute protest at noon to make their grievances known to the government.
Currently, like this operator come inside, Mipla looking more like government just bypassing Mipla. Setting up proper dialogue.
Vice Chairman of the Branch Executive Council, Kitamon Rasoe, said landowners weren't consulted.
The company now come without a good consultant, want more proper ground here. Also, we got all Rugby staff, Leopold staff, Arab staff, want them MTL.
Port workers are also worried about their jobs.
Job security is most important because at the end of the day, you and I miss our table of family.
Last year, local companies protested against bringing in the company. This year, the agreement was signed between the state-owned PNG Ports Company and the ITCSI. The company will be operating the Ley Port and the Motokea Port in Port Moresby under this agreement.
We plan working some action plan if government doesn't respond.
What is worrying for the landowners is that their contracts could be terminated and their direct benefits will be stopped.
Some people walk through. Now one more like him. Same walking here.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Ley.
6 years ago, an ill-fated flight crashed in Madang, killing 28 passengers on board. While years have passed, it is an unforgettable experience for those who lost their loved ones.
On October 13, 2011, Papua New Guinea recorded one of the worst aviation disasters in history. An ill-fated airline's PNG flight crashed in Madang, killing 28 passengers, most of whom were families of final year Divine Word University students on the way for the commissioning and missioning ceremony. Since then, Divine Word University has built a monument in a memorial park hosting candlelight ceremonies for loved ones who lost their lives on this tragedy. Among the 28, just to name a few, John Paul Matlem lost 4 of his family members: Mom Kristen, big sister Natasha, small sister Chloe, and nephew Nathan. Others like Cecilia Bula lost both of her parents, Jeffrey and Clotilda, who were unidentified during the course of the forensic test. Speaking of camera, they said 6 years after the tragedy, but life has to continue and they'll be always remembered. On June 2014, the Papua New Guinea Accident Investigation Commission released the incident report with human factors recorded. It was through a pilot error which caused the Dash 8 aircraft Bombardier DHC-8-103 registered P2MCJ to crash. Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
You're with National MTV News. Trukai Sports is coming up next with some news on James Sigiaro. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Choosing to switch allegiance from your birth nation to a foreign land comes with a price. Even rugby league superstars get caught up in the act. Papua New Guinea Rugby League community had their fair share on the controversy surrounding once beloved son in 2014 NRL Dally M Hooker of the Year, James Sigiaro. The National Rugby League superstar now reunites with the Kumul squad for the 2017 Rugby League World Cup.
James Sigiaro, the man who's been widely criticized for opting to play for Australian Kangaroos in last year's Prime Minister's stand-in clash against the Kumuls, is now grateful for being recalled into the Kumul squad.
I'm very thankful and very grateful for the selection. I'm seeing, we've got plenty of options in the hooking role, and seeing how the Hunters went it this year, they were very successful. So
Sigiaro played his first grade and debut for PNG in 2011 before signing up with the Penrith Panthers on a 3-year deal. After completing his 100th NRL career match in 2016, Sigiaro had a short stint with the Leeds Rhinos in the English Super League before linking up with the Cronulla Sharks in the 2017 NRL season.
I was going to play the Pacific Test, but Hanburukana didn't get the opportunity to put back on the Kumul colours. So
the Cronulla hooker's decision to sever ties with PNG before going back on his words has divided opinions, but nonetheless his focus is on doing what he does best.
Played alongside a lot of the boys and played against them, so camp's pretty normal, and well, we're PNG people, so it's family's family, so settling pretty well, and I've known Michael and Johnny and David and cousins, so.
The 26-year-old said he decided to return to the fold after SP Hunters coach Michael Marum took over the national coaching duties.
No disrespect to the previous teams or anything like that, but I think this is one of the best PNG teams selected and ready to ready to take on Fiji and PNG this coming weekend, and hopefully move that on to the World Cup.
Seguiaro hopes the people of Papua New Guinea would open their hearts to him during this year's Rugby League World Cup.
And seeing as everyone's opinionated, that means people are going to come to the games, and that's a bigger picture that everyone supports. Say, for instance, if no one was opinionated and wanted to see the best for the country, we'll have 5,000 instead of 20,000 turn up to games. So I'm happy everyone has an opinion and everyone decides to comment when they want to comment, and that's all right, and they have a right to, and I'm happy for that.
Seguiaro is a possible starting hooker for the Kumul Tri Series match against Fiji Patis and Australian Kangaroos tomorrow in Suva, Fiji. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
A hot topic surrounding the Rugby League World Cup buzz among fans, and NRL heavyweight Jason Taumalolo faced an unexpected turn of events when he was offloaded from his team's flight. He was forced off the plane apparently because of weight issues.
Upon boarding on Sunday at the Sydney International Airport, the Cowboy star was denied boarding. Taumalolo adhered to the directives but did board yesterday's flight into Tonga. Coach Christian Wolf, for one, did not buy the weight issue when Taumalolo was barred from the flight.
It was a funny one. We all got on the plane, or not actually on it, but we all got through and got ticketed and everything else, and then they decided there was too much weight on the plane and they had to offload a couple of guys, and unfortunately one of those was Jason.
But Taumalolo's absence from the rest of the team's arrival in Tonga did not stop the frenzied welcome prepared for them. The lone travelling Tongan team member arrived in the country yesterday and joined his teammates for today's training. Dinero Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
You're watching True Guys Sports. We'll be back with more after the break.
True Guys Sports.
Welcome back to True Guys Sports. The Paul Barrier Trophy has ended its 30-day journey at the National Football Stadium. It has been to different provinces, communities and carried by many people over the past few weeks.
The trophy tour started on the 11th of September at the National Football Stadium. Just like the Pacific Games baton, Oil Search came up with the initiative of taking the Rugby League World Cup trophy around Papua New Guinea to the different provinces. There were two trophies on board Flight PX-104 from Port Moresby to Lae, the Paul Barrier Trophy and the PNG NRLC Cup, courtesy of the Lae Snakes Tigers, the 2017 PNG NRLC Cup winners. They toured Lae City before stopping over at the Lae Rugby League grounds. The trophy left Lae for Bulolo on a chopper, flying through the mountains of Morobe Province. After the stop at PNG Forest Products, the trophy was then airlifted to Harmony Gold Mine. The trophy was then taken to Wau, where the first ever rugby league match was played in Papua New Guinea. After Wau and Bulolo, the Oil Search Trophy Tour continued their journey to Lae Secondary School. From Lae Secondary, the trophy made its way to the Lae Eriku Oval, then to Lae Biscuit Company, SP Brewery and Mapai Transport. From Lae, the trophy travelled to Goroka and made a brief appearance at the Goroka Show. There was a lot of colour and fanfare as the trophy was taken around town in a motorcade. The Paul Barrier Trophy made a brief appearance at Hanganofi in Eastern Highlands Province. As always, the trophy was received by excited people.
Thank you, Troy.
The Paul Barrier Rugby League World Cup Trophy Tour visited Oil Search camps, Moro and the ridge site in Kutubu. They also visited Sisibia Village, Agogo Camp and Lake Kutubu in its last leg of its Highlands tour. The trophy visited SP Brewery while in Port Moresby, then was taken to the National Football Stadium for the Prime Minister's 13th match. The Oil Search Trophy Tour continued their journey as they left Port Moresby for East New Britain. The Paul Barrier Trophy arrived at Tokwa Airport escorted by Oil Search Executive General Manager for Stakeholder Engagement, Geria Aupi, General Manager Stakeholder Engagement, Leon Baskins, and Victoria's PNG Hunters coach, Michael Marum. It toured Kokopo on a convoy before heading out to Kurakakaul, where it was received by a traditional Tolai welcome.
Ha, ha, hey! Ha, ha, hey! Ha, ha, hey!
The trophy visited Mount Tavurvur volcano, the Rapindik hot springs, was decorated with traditional shell money and was welcomed by Tumbuan dancers at Vunakanau and was given the traditional Tolai name Topaulos Berriere. From East New Britain, the trophy travelled to Lihir Island where it was met by Newcrest staff and the Lihir community. The trophy toured nearby villages before travelling to Kavieng. The trophy was received by an elder from New Ireland.
Look at something. Look at something. Give me a look at it. Ha! Ha! What reaction? Give me a long. What else something you understand? Ha!
The carp was then taken to Laraibina village, famously known for feeding eels. It was driven back on the Buluminski highway back to Kavieng town.
World Rugby League Cup Tour has been a fantastic journey. Bringing it outside of Mosby and bringing it to our people, our really small people outside, mums and dads, daughters and children, and for them to be able to have a touch, have a connection with the World Cup trophy.
The Central Tour was launched at Kupianu Station by Central Governor Robert Agarobe.
On that note, I'd like to now declare the trophy tour officially launched. Thank you.
The Central Tour saw the prestigious Paul Berriere Trophy float down a banana raft at Golupu village, home of former Commonwealth halfback Tony Kila. After visiting villages in the Abaurigo district, the Cup started its tour in the Kairukuhiri district. As part of the Kokoda Track's 75th anniversary, the first stop was at Owes Corner, where the Cup was welcomed by Kairukuhiri MP Peter Iso Aimo. The last leg was the Port Moresby Tour, where it was launched at Kaugere by Moresby South MP Justin Chichenko. After the launch, the trophy toured the nation's capital. They visited schools and different communities in NCD, where a song was also composed by students at Kopkop College.
People from different places, busy doing their own stuff, but when they hear about rugby, they fly from different places. Oh, we come together, making friends with each other. Cause at sports, we are friends. We are friends. Sports. Oh.
The trophy ended its journey at the National Football Stadium, where it was handed over to the Rugby League World Cup Committee.
On behalf of the Rugby League World Cup Organising Committee, the board, our chairman and CEO, I'd like to thank everyone of Papua New Guinea for their support and welcoming not only of the Rugby League World Cup 2017 to this beautiful shore, but to allow us to take the Paul Berriere Trophy around this fantastic country and be welcomed by so many smiling faces everywhere we went. To do something like this is massive in scale. We can't do it without the fantastic partners that we have for this tournament, and All Search have been absolutely amazing in organising and sponsoring this tour. So I thank them very much for their support, not only of Rugby League World Cup 2017 here in Papua New Guinea, but more importantly for taking this trophy as far and wide as we could around this country. So thank you.
The tour would not be possible without the support of proud PNG company, Oil Search, and other sponsors who have contributed to making the tour a success. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Chukai Sports. The weather details up next.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
The weather forecast for the Momase region, mostly fun in Ley, Wau and Medang, and a shower or two in Wewak and Vanimo.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the news for this Friday, the 13th of October 2017. From the entire EMTV News team, have a safe weekend. Good night.